anything that costs your pace is too expensive. You know, I remember just one day I was really stressed out about an assignment that I had to get done. I was coming home and I was being all, frantic. I was really stressed out. And I was, in a rush, and I was, feeling really pressured to get it done. And it was an assignment where I had to analyze poems, and that involves a lot of, work where, if you have the attitude, if I just want to get it done, and I just want to, get it over with, and I'm just going to, work until I get it done. Well, that's not the attitude when it comes to sitting down and analyzing poems and things like that. And so, analyzing things, especially, works of literature. And, it's really about the journey. It's really about, taking time and enjoying the process, being, willing to go through the process. And when you're, stressed out and you have to get this big assignment done, obviously you're not going to want to sit down, slow down, and be patient and enjoy the process. And so my mind was really sort of, overinflated, I guess you could say, where, my ego was really determined to get that done. And I ended up shooting myself in the foot and screwing myself over and being really mean to myself when I decided to just frantically get it done. And, looking back on that particular day, and Taurus is really about slow and steady. Slow and steady, wins the race. Like, let's slow down. Looking back on that particular day, I really, remember regretting what I have done, and if I were to go back and change something, because my mind was just not focused, not, in it, at the time. And it was too difficult to swallow, because it was just all of a sudden, I just found out about this one assignment that particular day. And that it was due that day. So the sudden, short notice thing came at me, and I did not allow myself to slow down because I said I wouldn't. And I was shocked, and it was just, a rude awakening for me. And I was absolutely, determined that I wouldn't slow down and take the time and get it done. So, I honestly wish that I just, just sacrificed that grade and the points that I would get for the assignment for taking care of myself, for just having a pleasant evening, having a relaxing evening. Because for that kind of work, you really need to, when you're analyzing a poem, when you're analyzing a story, and you're trying to answer these really higher order thinking questions, you really need to slow down and take, it takes time to find the answers you're looking for and try to come up with an analysis and interpretation. And I would rather lose points or lose a grade, because it's just a grade at the end of the day. It's not the end of the world. And grades, fall in comparison to your mental and emotional well-being and spiritual well-being, and what really, would bring you peace. And, you could argue, oh, you feel so much better when you would get that done. Why am I sitting here looking back on this, regretting that I tortured myself? And it was just not right to do at that particular point in time. Yeah. So what I, really regret from that experience was not having enough willpower to say, no, I'm just not going to do this. I choose not to do this. I choose to detach from this. This is sort of, and maybe based off of the full moon that we're going to be having, something like this, we're going to be having on April 5th and 6th, something like this can happen where one part of us wants to do what we want to do, be independent, do what's right for us, but then Libra is about, the other, serving others, what would be, best for others. It deals with, at worst, it can be a people pleaser sign. It can also lend itself to kind of martyr, qualities. And it can be kind of, dependent on others, but that's kind of another story. But it is so much about, relationships, that you lose your sense of self and you lose what is true to you, and you lose your identity. And so that's what we're going to be working with, the sort of ping pong, game that I have in my chart, because my birthday is April 6th, and I have my Sun in Aries and Moon in Libra. And so, astrologically, I would have that kind of, component, that kind of psychological, internal, opposition ping pong game with that. And so, looking back and considering what would bring me peace would be to calm down and use my willpower and push myself, not to get it done and try to torture myself, but to have the willpower to choose not to do it and be willing to be uncomfortable with not getting it done. Willingness to be uncomfortable with that particular feeling of guilt. And obviously, if I look back and felt, oh, well, I'm so glad I got that done, and, all those kind of things, that's not how I feel. And some may disagree with me. You can think, oh, and, absolutely, grades are important, and, school is important. But, I have to be honest. If it costs you your peace of mind and the scales are really, imbalanced, and you authentically feel that I should not do this particular day with how I'm feeling, what was going on. This is not right, and I shouldn't do this. Then do, then, well, be honest with yourself. And, what do you choose to, what would your choice be? What would you rather have? If I have to be honest, I would rather lose points for an assignment than lose an evening of torturing myself, being so stressed out about, this and getting so worked up about it. And getting so just, losing my mind logic, losing my connection to, spirit, all those kinds of things, and just losing an evening where I'm not feeling at peace, trying to get this thing done. Well, I wouldn't want that. I would rather, looking back on this, I'd rather just be okay with, oh, guess what? You missed the due date to get this assignment done at a certain point. Well, that's, that's something small. And yeah, that's, again, shouldn't come at the cost of peace. Really shouldn't. And I knew that. I knew it would cost me my peace. I knew probably shouldn't do this. But I did it anyway. And I regret it. I really do regret it. And so, I want to be real and raw. That particular day I'm talking about was November 21st, 2022. Right now, I'm taking classes in, college. I have that going on in my life. And what was going on that particular day, you have the sun and moon in Scorpio. You had Mars retrograde in Gemini, squaring Neptune in Pisces, and it was also the Monday before Thanksgiving break. And so all those factors, put together, combined with that assignment that I had to get done on that particular day, cramming to get it done, is really not the energy for that. Because Scorpio energy is introverted energy. It's, about going inside. It's time to, reflect and, go into sort of do kind of spiritual practices, or be at home within yourself, or and it's an intense sign. It isn't slow and steady. It will, it's really willing to destroy certain things in order to achieve a goal. At worst, it can be destructive, all or nothing energy. It can be really extreme, and it can just rush into something. Oh, I want this done. It can be lend itself to kind of more impatient kind of qualities, because it is ruled by Mars, and Aries is ruled by Mars too. So those signs, really you can find a lot of connections with those signs, even though one's fire and one's water. They are both Mars ruled, and so definitely in the South nodes in Scorpio, which is what we need to release, which is that toxic patterns, and it deals with being extreme and getting so caught up in having your power taken away from you, I certainly was not operating from a place of personal power. I was operating from a place of overwhelm, intense emotion, stress, really low frequency energy. And I was operating, from that place instead of a place of being at peace and being grounded and being, all those kind of things and being, more higher vibration qualities of love, appreciation, joy, all those kind of things. I wasn't operating from, I wasn't sort of going through that experience from my, during that day. And, the North Node in Taurus is about slowing down and being present and, leaning in to what you value in your life. And, that was one thing that was going on. You also had Mars retrograde in Gemini, which, it just had, and, we're done with at this point. So that deals with, where you can do things and you can, wonder, why did I do that? Where you're really, where you, sort of, misfire and you do things that, that you, don't want to do, that you regret more easily. It's sort of, where you can scatter yourself, you can get, stressed, overwhelmed, with so many different directions, your mind's, going crazy, and then you just, say these, impulsive things, because, Mars is, the impulse, it is action, it is assertion, and you're saying these things, and what's going on inside of your head, like what's your state of being? Is it, peace? Is it love? Is it, what is it? And what place are you coming from? That is causing you to act this way, and then you say things you don't mean, and then you, certainly, say something that was just so, impulsive, because of that, stress level, and, at worst it can hurt, a relationship even, but, and, can also be, certain conditioning that we were raised up to, believe in experience, conditioning such, oh, you need to, get good grades, you need to do this, you need to do that, putting the logical mind and the left side of your brain, before the right side of your brain, or the, the masculine before the feminine, and, that was certainly out of balance, that, on that day, but, with all those intense emotions that you feel about what you have to do for somebody else, instead of bending over backwards and being a martyr and stressing out and, flipping out and, destroying your sense of inner peace and going against what you value, and getting so caught up in that, emotion that you feel like you are led to feel like you are, being a rebel, or you're doing something wrong, or you are being immature, or you're crazy and you've lost your mind, and then, and then you're, really shooting yourself in the foot, stabbing yourself in the foot, and, I don't want to do this, but, I have to, that kind of thing. And then it also sort of trying to push yourself and force yourself, even though a huge part of you, which is your intuition, which is your soul, which is your body, telling you, your inner knowing telling you, don't do this, take a break, don't worry about this tonight, it's okay if you don't get this turn in, it's a matter of being okay with getting half credit if it means that you lived into what was authentic, what felt authentic, what you needed, what you wanted, and what was really true for you, and what would serve you at this particular point of time, not getting caught in all those emotions, but being willing to rise above it all and lose the attachment that you have to having something a certain way, losing the attachment to cram and get the assignment done and get it well, for that matter. Because, I really, cared about that class, and I wanted to do well, and I wanted to put in the quality work. And it's hard to do when you're rushing like that. And if you rush the process of doing that kind of work, of trying to analyze something and try to interpret something and make sense of it that way and answer these higher order thinking type questions, and trying to go through and analyze the text, if you don't slow down and you're not willing and you're not in the mindset to be willing to go through the process. It's not about working at something, it's about working through something. And if you're not willing to sit through and take the time and do the work over time and do it slow and steady and enjoy the process, and if you are not willing to accept that that it might take a while and that it also might require breaks, then you will probably not end up enjoying that kind of work if you end up doing that, pursuing that. You could also add on the fact that Mars was squaring off with Neptune in Pisces, and Mars was retrograde, and this can be feelings of exhaustion, feelings of you can't seem to find motivation. You're in a state of victimhood and a state of weakness. It's really calling to go in, reflect, and sit back and to not push and try to push and go after something. And I have seen videos about Mars retrograde being a time where you want to just allow and not push and exhaust yourself, because you might be feeling more tired and more exhausted, and you don't have that drive and motivation during that time. And so I've heard all these people talk about not always having to be in the driver's seat, time to slow down, again, something that costs you a piece is too anything that costs you a piece is too expensive. And I did not adhere to that and do what was really right to do. And I did not take the spiritual route, and I did not follow my own advice of slowing down, taking the time to do it during Mars retrograde in Gemini. Because the video I made about Mars in Gemini, I said, time to slow down and take the slow. I think I said something about slowing down and taking the slow and steady steps to get something done. That's certainly not what I did at that particular day. And, with the energy of Mars squaring Neptune, it can also be about feelings of guilt and feelings of, being a state of, victimhood. of loneliness and anxiety also, and feeling, the feelings of depression and loneliness can be heightened around that time. Feelings of guilt about the past, and not seeing that clarity, of getting distracted, of not, having that focus to, have a target and be able to go in that direction, instead of, getting distracted and being very hard to also stay on track. Because the lack of clarity with Mars square Neptune is also a part of that aspect. I was feeling in a really not feeling abundant with this stuff in my life. And I did not come from a place of gratitude. And, I was at a place where I was super sensitive to when the next shoe was going to drop, when something else would go wrong. Because, when I felt abundant, when I felt good, enthusiastic, curious, open-minded, grounded, and excited about life, something else like that thing that I had to get done came along and threw a wrench in that and tested, that feeling of, that positive outlook, feeling that I had about, social media, information, content, all those kind of things like that. Because I have done a couple of things in 2022 that I regret compulsively going through one channel and one account after the other, and just for the heck of what I would want to keep, what do I want to keep, and what do I want to get rid of. So that's another thing I was doing. I was, trying to go through my YouTube channels and see what did I want to keep, what did I want to get rid of. And as I was doing that, I was, watching a little bit of a video from one channel, and then one thing after another, in an effort to, compulsively, I was being obsessive of getting, of that need to get that done. And, that's also something I regret. And I also regretted binge watching and exhausting certain content, and I was experiencing, lack of interest in certain things. Although you couldn't tell, I was kind of not feeling as interested in the information that I was presenting with the astrology videos that I presented in the fall of that year. And I was feeling guilt for a bunch of different things, and also certain anxieties and insecurities about other things, other compulsions that I was dealing with. So, a bunch of stuff sort of put together, and with the fact that, all this energy was going on, this one assignment I had to get done, and the whole work not being super easy, requiring analysis, requiring sitting through, requiring taking the time to analyze, taking the time to, interpret. And to me, the teacher, the class was so oriented around the work that it was really difficult to enjoy and take time to enjoy what we were reading, because it was constant, homework, constant assignments, even one right before Thanksgiving break. And I do feel like the teacher was sort of, teaching spiritual narcolepsy in a way. And a whole bunch of things about that. Because, you can, push yourself into those kind of things, but sometimes, you need to halt, and you need to relax and go inside yourself and, and, relax and choose to do other things and take care of yourself and do self-care. And it may cost you losing points. It may cost you losing an opportunity to do this, an opportunity to do that. And you may end up losing or, getting a lower grade for assignment. Well, that's, to me, less important than doing what is right for me. And that's what it comes down to. So I certainly hope that it won't happen again. I certainly hope I won't do the same things again. Yeah. And so, Mars was retrograde. I could have had the will not to do that. I could have, looked and saw when the assignment was due before just seeing it last minute. There was a bunch of things that I could have done. I don't know about slowing down at that time because my mind was not at a place where I could do that because it was so sudden, and I knew that I could slow down. I knew that I could take time to do it, but I was not willing to. And I was so caught up in the stress and the intensity that it just sort of consumed me at that point in time. So I do look back and the whole point is, again, anything that costs you your peace is too expensive, and that's kind of the point that I want to get across in this video. So I hope that you liked it, and bye for now.